magic. I need that magic.
Updates, yeah. Oh yeah, baby, see how it's a go. Hey, Sangalo is a go. Shana Wale is a go. Ha, Escobar is a go. Ha, Toros is a go. Naira Marley is a go. Ha, Olosho is a go. Flying Odin is a go. Is a go. Is a go. Is a go. Go. Is a go. Is a go. Is a go. Is a go.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Enghausa TV. So today we're going to talk about telling apart fantasy and reality, and I feel like that's something that people haven't even really identified as a problem. So let me go ahead and explain what I mean by separating reality and fantasy in areas like relationship and marriage. In relationships, okay, you meet a guy or you meet a girl, you guys are vibing, you know, you talk all the time, you chat all the time, you're always on Snapchat and whatnot. Like that's like in the first few weeks or say months of the relationship, it's rosy, like everyone's on his best behavior. Months into the relationship, problems start because you both have changed, and then it's rosy sometimes, rocky sometimes, rosy sometimes, and then deep into the relationship after maybe a year or two or even 4 or 5 years, you both turn into strangers basically, because it's rocky all the time and you feel you can't handle this, but because you remember the good times you've had, you hold on to the relationship because of this nostalgic feeling of, and like the memories, the fantasy of who he was, because it's actually a fantasy who he was at the beginning of the relationship, because that wasn't him, this is him, this is the reality, this is what you're living. And because of that fantasy you were in at the beginning, you hold on to the relationship and you keep hurting yourself, you keep being emotionally abused because you feel, okay, he can change. This was how he was, so he can go back to who he was at first. He cannot go back, or she cannot go back to who she was at first. This is her. This is her real self. She was on her best behavior. She wasn't herself. He wasn't himself. You need to understand that. You need to understand that this is who this person is. Can you live with this person, this new person, not the old person you used to know? Can you live with this person? If no, you need to get the hell out of that relationship. Sometimes people even get to leave the relationship. In the end, they maybe after moving on, maybe a month or two later, the person picks up the phone and calls you. Then you're like, oh my god, maybe he has changed, maybe he's back to the person he was at first. And then all of a sudden you're back into that messy relationship again. And if that person keeps leaving and coming back and leaving and coming back and taking you for granted, he is never going to treat you right. She is never going to treat you right, because that was not who she was at the beginning. We need to learn to separate reality and dreams. Once you start asking yourself, can't so and so go back to who they were at the beginning of the relationship, just know that you are living in fantasy. Literally, that's all you're doing. You're not living in reality. So you need to learn to separate that fantasy you were in and this reality, because this is the reality, to be honest.
Your skin really tight. You are my type. Believe me.
You have a boyfriend, and then it's definitely not okay to cheat. It's definitely not. I'm not supporting cheating in any way. It's the wrongest thing you could do, and it's the worst way you could hurt a person. For people that cheat, this is for you. I'm not supporting you. You are doing a terrible thing and you're hurting the person you love. There are some situations where you're dating someone and the person has changed, like you're out of the fantasy of the relationship and you're in reality, and you're not liking the reality. I'm sorry, I keep referring to the bad partner of the relationship as male. It's really not intended. So you basically you're in the reality of your relationship and you're not liking that person, then another person starts, messaging you, and all of a sudden another person starts messaging you, and all of a sudden you are talking to that person, and you're getting to know the person, and it's all rosy, and the thrill of a new relationship, and you feel, oh, I want this person, I don't want my boyfriend anymore, I don't want my girlfriend anymore, because I prefer the way this person treats me, blah 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 blah. Just know that there is an 80% chance, 95, there's a 95% chance that person is also going to change. You're in the fantasy part of the relationship. You get to a point where there's fantasy and reality, and then you get to a point where there's reality. When you start out in the fantasy part, you feel, okay, that relationship is in the reality, and you don't want that anymore, you want this. Just remember, that is fantasy and this is reality. So separate the fantasy and separate the reality. Do not judge. You can't, in the first place, you can't even judge two people. Like, you can't judge two different people, because, well, for one, they are not the same person. They probably weren't even raised by the same person, most likely, because I don't imagine you dating brothers, so they weren't raised by the same person. They most likely did not grow up in the same environment. There are so many things that shaped them to be who they are that are different, so they are entirely different people. And you can't be comparing two different people. They can never be the same. That's just one thing we should all know. It's only in your fantasy world that they might be the same or something. So you need to separate that fantasy and that reality as well. Another thing, I feel when your relationship gets to the reality part and you feel you cannot handle it, one thing you should know is, in reality, you cannot find someone that is 100%. You can only find maybe 70, 80, like, if you find 70, 80, you're actually very lucky. In some cases, you can only find 50. I'm not asking you to settle for less, but in reality, you can't find someone that is 100%. But one thing I would advise is get a book, write the pros and cons, then amongst the pros, you mark those rare pros he has and mark the rare cons. If you feel like, okay, these are the negative things that he has and I cannot live with this, then leave that relationship. But if you feel, okay, some people condone cheating, so if you feel you can condone cheating, then, and he's a cheat, then you go ahead and keep going on with the relationship. But if you know you cannot condone cheating and he is cheating, run away. If you can't live with a cheat for the rest of your life, run, because you would probably end up getting. Don't think when you get married he's going to stop. No, don't you dare think that. They hardly stop. Most people, like 99% of people, change for themselves. If he is not willing to change for himself as a single person, there is a high chance he is not going to change when you are married. Then again, let's move on to marriage. This is one thing that I have not heard anyone address. You are dating someone, he's really always showering you with gifts, always giving you money, and you feel, oh, so this is in the relationship. What happens when we're married? He's probably going to be giving me like 10 times this, and that is not what is going to happen. In a few cases, it gets better. In very few cases. Mostly these guys, they give you gifts, like tons of gifts, when you are in courtship. Because once you get married, obviously there's going to be so many responsibilities. There's going to be, kids to take care of. He's going to start having to save for their future, save for their school, save, and aside that, he's going to be buying diapers and baby food and clothes and all those things So there's going to be so much more responsibility, and there's going to be little money left for luxury. So don't expect things like that to get better when you're married. Just have it at the back of your mind, okay, these are going to stop once we get married. They may not stop, in most cases they don't stop, but just have it at the back of your mind that it is going to stop. So when you actually get married and he's still giving you all those gifts and whatnot, you appreciate them. Do you get where I'm coming from? Like, you won't feel entitled to it, understand? And the thing is, when you don't feel entitled to it, he would feel you're appreciating it, and he would do it more. Do you get? So girls, damn Allah, I have heard of situations where mace da namiji za su yi aure, kowa ya san, how do I say it, kowa ya san irin, okay, they were a happy couple, and they loved each other a lot and all that. Yana bata kuɗi, yana bata gifts, yana bata blah blah blah, like kowa ya sani. And then all of a sudden, kun zo kun yi aure, ya zo ya daina miki all those things, and you start feeling. Some women actually go to the extent of continuing roles. Like, how on earth would you do that? Kisan jefe ki ya kamata a yi? Akwai tsoron Allah da waye, ba ni da ku mun san okay, akwai certain rashin jin da ana yi, like it's not okay, but it happens a lot. Like most people suna wani certain rashin jin. If you know you have that adventurous side, that tendency ki rashin ji, make sure you do it all kafin ki aure. In my roles, in my mean, don Allah, kana aure ka aje me. It's haram to begin with. It's bad enough that it's haram that you're even a single lady kina runs, but why on earth would you go and do something like that kina da aure? What's the had yara but runs? It's become so rampant that yanzu mutane ma in an ce musu wance tana runs, it's actually nothing. It's ina musuluncin ya tafi. Ana za a ce yan Najeriya muna da addini, but look what we're doing. Saboda mijinki ya saba baki Gucci bag da waye. See, kawai kun yi aure yanzu, baya baki all those things, and then you just feel the need to, impress your friends and all that. Take fun of sugar daddies for luxury. Why? Just imagine mamanki ne take ma babanki haka. How would you feel? Would you want your daughter to grow up and hear of your daughter or son to grow up and hear of all these things that kike ma, all these chin amanoni da kike ma babanta? How would you think za ta kalle ki? There will not be any atom of respect tsakaninki da yarki ma. Akwai so many things wrong with it. Yanzu, let's even be concerned about yaranki. Like, wani irin emotional trauma kike bringing on your own kids da kika haifa kika kawo duniya. So women, we need to learn to separate wannan fantasy and the wannan reality. In reality, things do not get better when you get married. If anything, they get worse. Sannan kuna ganin okay mun yi curtain, so I know him, halayen shi da waye. Most men, especially mazan mu nan na Hausawa, they have this mentality of sai sun nuna miki, especially at the beginning of aure, sai sun nuna miki authority din su. We have a few that they're not like that, but there are a few. Most men are like that. Sai sun nuna miki I'm the boss. Chingani, so we need to separate the reality, the dreams. In kai aure wannan hakurin da ake cewa. Okay, I don't want to really go deep into this marriage topic thingy because I'm not, but I'm just talking from things I've seen around me. So I'm not going to really go deep into it. But we need to learn to separate reality and fantasy in terms of that. This brings us to the end of another episode of Adengida TV. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure you subscribe and like, and make sure you turn on the notification button. See you in the next episode. Bye.
sarkin kalanmu mai alfarma, sarkin zari yana nan shi ma, sarkin musulmi mai dumbin daraja, sarakuna iyayen kowa ne. Ba a cinye turan giwa da ranta to sai dai kallo, sarkin